Wake up. It's 2030. You don't own a house. You rent a micro unit owned by the world's largest asset manager. You don't own a car. You subscribe to a ride share service. Your wardrobe is leased. Your furniture is on a subscription plan. Even the machine you just brewed your coffee with doesn't belong to you. That's coffee as a service. You check your bank account, but it's not a bank. It's a central bank digital wallet. It shows your money expires in 30 days because it's programmable currency designed to stimulate the economy. You don't feel panic because for the last 10 years, you've been told this is freedom. Here is the truth. No one tells you. The housing crisis, the inflation, the supply chain collapses you see on the news, they aren't just results of mismanagement. They aren't bugs in the system. They don't plan to fix them. They plan to use them as cover to finalize the largest transfer of wealth in human history. This is actually a dispossession against you, and it is happening perfectly legally and quietly. Welcome to the era of the death of ownership. Welcome to Neo-Feudalism, 2030. And today, we are going to read the last page of the script. History doesn't repeat, but it certainly rhymes. And if you zoom out and look at the last few thousand years of human civilization, you find a disturbing fact. The middle class is actually a historical anomaly. For 99% of human history, there were only two classes: the lords who owned the land and resources, and the serfs who worked on it just to survive. That post-we era we all know. The golden age where one income could feed a family, buy a house, a car, and have savings. That was not the norm. That was a glitch in the matrix created by post-war reconstruction, a population boom, and a technological explosion. And now, that glitch is being fixed. The pendulum is swinging back to its natural state. The elites, the modern lords, are systematically dismantling the foundations of the middle class to return us to that older, more stable structure, feudalism. Only this time, there are no castles and knights. They have been replaced by hedge funds and algorithms. Let's start with the most basic necessity of survival: shelter. In the Middle Ages, land was the only form of wealth. If you owned land, you were a king. If you worked it, you were a serf. This led to the enclosure movement. In 17th century England, aristocrats realized sheep were more profitable than renting land to peasants. So they put up fences, privatized common land, and kicked millions of farmers out of their homes, forcing them into cities to become cheap labor. In 2024, we are watching the digital enclosure movement. Have you noticed that no matter how much you save, the finish line for buying a house keeps moving forward? Do you think that's just because building materials are expensive? Wrong. It's because you are competing against the money printer. Mega institutions like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard are sweeping through neighborhoods in the US, Canada, the UK, and even Australia. Buying up single-family homes with all cash offers far above market price. They aren't flipping them, they are holding them. Why? Because they know the old adage, he who owns the land makes the rules. This is an economic model known as rentier capitalism. Their goal isn't for you to own a home. It is for you to be a permanent tenant. When a consortium known as the Big Three owns 30% of the real estate in a city, they effectively control the rental prices. You are no longer a citizen. You are a sharecropper on their corporate estate. But that's just the beginning. If housing is out of reach, surely you can own other things, right? This brings us to the second brutal mechanism: the weaponization of the subscription economy. Even 10 years ago, when you bought a car, it was yours. If you wanted to fix it, you fixed it. If you wanted the heated seats on, you pressed a button. But now, companies like BMW are piloting heated seat subscriptions. John Deere tractors are locked with software that prevents farmers from repairing the machines they paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for, claiming the farmer only owns the hardware, while the software license remains with the corporation. This is the dark side of product as a service passes. Ownership is being stripped away. You pay full price for a Tesla, but if you sell it, the company can remotely disable features unless the new owner pays extra. Your digital library, Amazon can delete it with a click because you didn't buy the book. You bought a license to read. Your Steam game library, if the platform goes under, you own nothing. This model is bleeding from software into the physical world: furniture rental, clothes rental, appliance rental. The marketing slogan sounds seductive: flexibility, asset, light living. But the underlying logic is predatory. You will pay rent for life. And at the end of the pandemic, you will hold zero assets. As the infamous World Economic Forum WEF tweet said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Pay attention to the second half of that sentence, and you will be happy. That is the most terrifying part. It's psychological warfare. They are redefining happiness. They are trying to convince you that owning assets is a burden. It's like Orwell's 1984, Newspeak. Strip away the vocabulary, and you can't think of rebellion. Strip away the concept of ownership, and you won't realize you are a slave. The puzzle isn't complete without talking about the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads: inflation. Inflation is not a natural disaster. It is policy. It is the most brutal hidden tax experienced by this generation. In economics, this is called the Cantillon effect. When central banks print trillions of dollars out of thin air, that money isn't sprinkled evenly over everyone. The new money flows first to those closest to the spigot, the big banks, the hedge funds, the government contractors. They get the money before prices rise, using it to buy up assets, stocks, real estate, gold. By the time that money circulates through the economy to reach you, the working class, prices have already skyrocketed. Your savings are devalued. Your purchasing power is diluted. This isn't just economic theft. It is the systematic destruction of social mobility. Ownership requires capital accumulation, and inflation is like drilling a hole in the bottom of your savings bucket. No matter how fast you run, you can never outpace asset inflation. This locks the class structure in place. It doesn't just make you poorer, it fixes you and your social station. This is the core of Neo-Feudalism, class ossification. If you have no assets, you have no bargaining power. If you have no bargaining power, you must accept whatever working conditions are imposed on you. This leads us to the gig economy, the perfect camouflage for 21st century serfdom. Uber, DoorDash, Fiverr, they call you an independent contractor. It sounds cool, free, but let's translate that. You own all the liability, car repairs, sickness, no work. And the platform owns all the assets, customer data, pricing power, the algorithm. You aren't working for yourself, you are working for a faceless algorithmic lord. This algorithm decides your pay, decides your tasks, and can cut off your livelihood instantly by banning your account. It is more efficient than a medieval lord because the algorithm needs no sleep and has no moral burden. And at the end of this road lies the ultimate tool of control, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. If cash is outlawed and all transactions must pass through a government central ledger, then the concept of private property theoretically dies. Why? Because your money becomes conditional. Imagine not being allowed to buy meat because you've exceeded your carbon credit limit. Imagine your wallet being frozen because you posted the wrong opinion on social media. Or, to stimulate spending, they could put an expiration date on your money. If you don't spend it by the end of the month, it vanishes. When your money can be remotely programmed, restricted, or deleted, you don't own money. You are merely the custodian of it until the state decides to take it back. This is the final shift from an ownership society to an access society. You have access as long as you obey. Sound familiar? Historians will tell you that the fall of the Roman Empire wasn't just about barbarian invasions. It was an internal economic collapse, when taxes became unbearable and the currency became worthless. Free Roman citizens voluntarily gave up their land and freedom to seek protection from large estate owners, becoming coloni, the direct predecessors to medieval serfs. We are in the coloni phase of the cycle right now. The middle class is being squeezed into dust. Small businesses, the independent yeomanry, are systematically wiped out during every crisis and lockdown. Their market share devoured by giants like Amazon. This isn't just about money, it's about dignity, it's about independence. It's about control over your own destiny. Without ownership, there is no freedom. It's simple math. If your house, your car, your money, and even your thoughts are bound by terms of service, you are not a free individual. You are a node in a massive system. So, what is the end game? Look at the youth today. The lying flat movement, the doomer generation. It's not because they are lazy. It's because humans have an instinct for pattern recognition. When they realize the game is rigged, when they realize that no matter how hard they work, they cannot acquire assets, the rational choice is to stop playing. But for the elites, that's fine. With the rise of AI and automation, they don't need mass labor like the ancient lords did. That is why this neo-feudalism is darker than the old version. In the old days, the lord at least needed the serf to farm the land. In the new version, a large portion of the proletariat might be considered surplus population. This is why they push universal basic income. You buy? Don't think for a second that is charity, that is hush money. That is to keep you at a minimum subsistence level after you've lost ownership, so you don't revolt. You stay there, consuming digital trash in the metaverse, while the real world resources, land, energy, minerals, are held tight by the few. This is the script for 2030. However, like all historical cycles, this process is not irreversible, but it has massive inertia. I know this sounds hopeless. I know you want to click off and watch cat videos to feel better, but that is exactly what they want you to do. Distraction is the modern opiate. If you want to survive this neo-feudal age, you must shift from a consumer mindset to an owner mindset. This is no longer about getting rich. This is about survival. This is about building your ark before the flood covers everything. There are still holes in the system. There are still assets that cannot be easily confiscated or debased. While they try to monopolize the land, decentralized technologies, certain hard assets outside the fiat system, and most importantly, knowledge and skills that cannot be stripped by an algorithm, are your only weapons. They want you to have the feeling of happiness without the fact of ownership. They want you to subscribe to life, not control it. On this channel, we don't sell anxiety, we sell vision. We need to see the walls of the maze so we can find the exit. The wheel of history is crushing forward. Do you want to be the dust under the wheel? Or do you want to be the one driving it? The choice is still yours, but the time is running out. I am Jake Tran. I'll see you in the next cycle. Screen cuts to black.